I'm jumping into this like a creator who just hit record. There's a lot to unpack from that Malcolm in the Middle revival trailer. And I'm not here to just summarize. I'm here to dissect why this matters, how it lands with fans, and what it signals about revivals in general. Let's break down the vibes, the jokes, and the bigger implications, and I'll sprinkle in my takes along the way. The hook that grabbed me instantly is the meta-commentary in the opening moment. Hal's grooming scene and the cheeky undergrowth line. It's not just a gag. It's a wink to longtime viewers about how much the family's chaos remains the actual engine of the show. Personally, I think this signals a deliberate choice. Lean into the house's familiar micro-rituals while reintroducing the cast in a way that feels earned, not fan service. What makes this really interesting is how it uses a mundane, almost intimate moment to remind us that this family's quirks still drive the plot. In my opinion, it also sets the tone for a revival that aims to be affectionate rather than ironic about the past. Let's map the core idea here. The original Malcolm in the Middle was built on a balance of witty one-liners and real, sometimes cringeworthy family dynamics. The trailer hints at that same balance, but with a fresh lens, a four-part revival that promises both nostalgia and new wrinkles. One thing that immediately stands out is the way the show leans into the ensemble nature. Old favorites return: Cranston, Kaczmarek, Masterson, Burfield, Collegato, while new faces step in as the next generation. From my perspective, that duality matters because it tests whether the series can honor its DNA while still feeling contemporary. If you take a step back and think about it, revivals often stumble when they either cosplay the original tone or strip it for easy modern references. This trailer seems intent on walking a tightrope between homage and evolution. Another major thread is the setup for Malcolm's ongoing frustration with the family system. The line about the family's nonstop antisocial behavior being toxic to him isn't just a quip, it's a diagnostic of the show's appeal. A character who's always seen the world a bit differently, navigating a chaos that he paradoxically helps sustain. What many people don't realize is that Malcolm's intelligence is not just a plot device. It's a narrative engine that creates tension between brilliance and domestic mayhem. In my opinion, the revival's insistence on leaning into that tension could yield some surprisingly sharp social commentary on ambition, on family pressure, on the gap between genius and ordinary life. Casting notes matter a lot here. Bringing back the main trio gives the revival legitimacy. Adding Leah, Kelly, and Tristan suggests an expanded universe that mirrors how real families morph over time. A detail I find fascinating is how the show positions Malcolm's kids as new anchors within the same house that once anchored a very different set of problems. It's not just fan service. It's a structural move to keep the series rooted in a familiar setting while interrogating new generational dynamics. This raises a deeper question. Can a legendary family sitcom sustain novelty without losing its core voice? My take: if the new characters are used to heighten contrast with Malcolm's archetype, there's real potential for fresh conflict. On the production side, the return of Linwood Boomer as writer and executive producer signals intent to preserve the show's sensibility while allowing for growth. Disney's involvement, the multi-platform streaming strategy, and a limited 4-episode format all point to a revival designed for binge culture without overstaying its welcome. From my perspective, this is a smart move. Short, sharp, and bingeable can reignite water cooler moments without diluting what fans fell in love with. What this really suggests is that the current streaming era favors compact, high-output revivals that respect the original but aren't afraid to innovate. If we zoom out, the meta-story here is about cultural memory and the economics of revivalism. The Malcolm in the Middle revival isn't just about recapturing a mood. It's about testing how beloved properties perform when reintroduced at a different era's pace and with a more expansive streaming strategy. A detail I find fascinating is how nostalgia functions as a currency. People crave the warmth of a familiar sofa but want the cushions restuffed with new material. What this means for writers and studios is a balancing act. Deliver crisp character work, highlight evolving family dynamics, and pepper in contemporary humor without tipping into self-parody. Closing thought: If this revival can deliver on character-driven integrity while nudging the conceits of the original into new territory, it might not just be a reunion show, but a reinvention that respects the past, while teaching the present a thing or two about family, ambition, and resilience. For the audience, the question remains simple and big. Are we here for validation, or are we here for a genuine, grown-up evolution of a show that defined an era? Before we wrap, one quick speculative beat. I'm curious whether the 4-episode format will lean into tighter arcs, Dewey's growth, Lois and Hal's evolving partnership, Malcolm's career pressures, or if they'll weave a seasonal mosaic that rewards rewatching. Either way, I'm cautiously optimistic that this revival could offer surprising depth beneath the familiarity. What do you think? Will this hit the nostalgia sweet spot, or will it surprise you by leaning into something bolder?